Okay, so I'm making this video concerning the Sonya Masxey shooting, right? And as you see down here in my timeline, I have like several different videos, right? Like I have footage from the partner, right? And I clipped this part so I could grab the audio and apply it to the audio, apply it to the video of the shooter himself, right? I have like the original here, and then I have it with the audio. I don't think I'll play that and everything. I'll just play this, right? Because what I did is I synced the audio so you could hear, like, cause if you see down here in the timeline, there's like no sound throughout most of this, right? And it's because he turned his camera on at this point. He turned his camera on at that point, and the way these cameras work is that they work retroactively. They're constantly recording and deleting video footage, and when you turn them on, it saves the previous video footage for like a few seconds or even a few minutes, right? Depending on I guess how it's set or whatever, right? I don't know the full details, but the cameras are, body cams have worked like that for a long time, and there's if you think about it for a second, there's like a logical reason as to why they work that way, right? So and then I like have like another video back here that's illustrating a point that I'm going to make about this shooting, right? So anyway, let's get the ball rolling here, because I have 5 minutes of video, and believe me, I tried making this video a couple times and stuff like that, and I usually wind up like rambling for an hour. So let's go. All right. I trust everybody has already seen all this stuff, right? I'm just going to cut to the nitty gritty, right? So let's get up here, right? She's like talking with these people, right? And I'm going to say, right, that the entire time that she was talking with these police officers, right, she wasn't belligerent. She wasn't hostile towards them. She was like actually like following what they were asking her to do or attempting to, and all the other stuff, right? And I see a lot of people that want to defend this deputy that, like I see a lot of people that want to defend this deputy that say that she planned to attack him and all this other stuff and blah blah and everything like that, right? Well, I'm going to show you something, right? Because maybe you haven't seen it, right? So like when they first come into the house, she picks something, like she puts something down over there, right? Okay. Look at that. What's that right there? That, fellas, is a bat. That is a metal bat right there. It's sitting by the door. Now, these detectives, not detectives, these deputies probably didn't notice it and everything, right? But I guarantee she knew the bat was there. And if she wanted to attack this guy, suddenly picking up a bat and smacking him in his head is more effective than using some boiling water, right? So let's keep going, right? Because this is retarded, right? So let's keep going, right? So she's like talking with them. She's trying to find her ID and her papers and stuff like that. That's her Bible there, right? Like earlier, she asked him if he could give her Bible, which he did, right? Now I watched one expert, give a, an assessment on this, right? And he says that this guy right here asked for her ID, and she said, "You hand me my Bible," right? No, sir, that's not what happened. That's not what happened, right? Here, I'll go back.
Okay. No, hold on. Wait a second, sir.
You can hang up, Conwell. It's good.
For what? You're there with the deputy, correct?
No, hold on, okay?
You can hang
Hold
up.
on for what?
Just 1 second, okay? I got the paperwork.
Yes, please check it out.
Okay?
What's up?
I got some paperwork. Can you grab that Bible, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she said, I got some like, he's like, what's up? She's like, I got some paperwork. Could you hand me that Bible, please? Right? So she has like some kind of paperwork that she feels is important. Right? This guy right here didn't ask her for her ID. Right? Her asking for her Bible was not in response to being asked for her ID. Her Bible is probably like
So we can get
her safety blanket or
Was
whatever.
there any damage?
She probably feels
to your
comfortable.
car?
She probably feels comfortable when in close proximity to that Bible. Okay? You know, like, let's keep going, man. This is bullshit, right? So they're talking back and forth, right? I'm going to play a little bit of this conversation, right? And you tell me if she's being hostile and threatening and stuff.
Just your car?
Previous, yeah, it
Okay,
was
what was the damage?
a dent, I believe.
What about windows?
Oh, it was something that happened earlier.
Okay, perfect. What is your last name? Shouldn't have to think about your last name. You're not in trouble. I just need to text.
Masxey.
See, okay, so he asked her what her last name was, and she was hesitant to say what her last name was, right? But that's not her being so super crazy and not knowing her last name. She just felt nervous about giving this guy that information. That's all, right? I think a lot of people feel nervous about giving the police information like their name and stuff like that, especially when they haven't done anything wrong. Because, you know, I'm just going to be honest. You know, a lot of people really just don't know what the police officer, or in this case, a deputy, is going to do with that information, right? Yeah, and you know, like a lot of people say, oh, you know, just give them the information that they asked for. It'll be all right and everything. You don't know what they're going to do with the information. They could be trying to like hem you up or something. They could be trying to, like, I've actually had a couple police officers try to frame me for a crime, for a major crime, right? I've actually had that happen before, right? Not in the area that I'm in now. I mean, I've had problems with the police in the area that I'm in now, but that was like 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, right? So, you know, haven't had any problems with them lately. So.
Yeah. You have an ID? That'd make things so much easier.
Yeah. See, right there, he asked for ID. And what does she do? She reaches for her purse.
I just need just driver's license will do, and then I'll get out of your hair.
And look, what did she do? She grabbed a stack of things that look like cards, right? She grabbed a stack of things that look like cards.
I want to show y'all my paperwork.
I will get your paperwork.
What paperwork?
You know, for whatever reason, she wants to share this paperwork, right? You know, that's the whole thing. But really, these deputies don't really have a reason to be here looking at her paperwork and stuff like that, right? That's like, you know, I had a officer come past my house once, right? And at the time when he knocked on the door, I was in my living room and I was watching The Sopranos on my tablet. And when I answered the door, I had the tablet in my hand. And I told him, you know, and I having the tablet in my hand, I told him to hold on while I paused the show, right? And then we actually sat out there on my front porch and talked about The Sopranos for like 2 minutes, you know, and all this other stuff, right? And then, you know, and then we talked about what he was here for, and he left, right? And I wasn't a suspect of any crime and all this other stuff, right? The Sopranos thing was completely just like, just side thing, right? And the thing about it is, it seems to me that this paper thing, that this papers thing, may be like a side thing that she just wants to show, or share or whatever, right? You know, I don't know what's in the papers that she's talking about.
Well, just get your ID real
You
quick.
know.
Let's get your ID first, and then
One task at a time here.
You know, these guys want her ID, but they don't really need her ID. They could just go back, like they could just go on with the rest of the evening, and then when they write a report about coming out here, they could say, they could say that they didn't find anything and all this other stuff. And if they think that she has any type of mental issue, they could say, she probably has like some kind of mental issue or whatever. Maybe APS or somebody should like check her out, or something. Maybe not APS, right? But somebody that's actually trained in dealing with and diagnosing psychological issues should, right? But but she is on medicine for for something. And if you look here, well, okay, whatever. If you look there, that is a hospital tag, right? So she was just recently staying in a hospital and stuff like that, right? So and of course the paramedics that show up later on to basically I guess try to save her, right? Even though she's like too far gone by that point. They know her name, right? They know her first and last name, right? So these guys don't really need her name, right? They should actually be going on about their business. They shouldn't even be in her house. They shouldn't be in her house, right? But okay, let's move forward, right? Let's move forward. Let's skip forward, right? Because we're wasting a lot of time, right? So she's going over there to interact with that stove, right? And the partner allowed her to go over there, and this asshole allowed her to go over there. He allowed her to go over there, right? If either one of these guys had a problem with her going over there to deal with the pot, they could have just said, hey, don't do that. Like, let one of us do it. Just stay here in the living room, right? They could have do that. They could have done that. They could have used words to deal with the woman, to address the woman who has been cooperating with them this entire time, right? Okay. Right. So, and it's also important to note, right, that she has like a pail down there on the ground, and that pail actually has water in it. You don't see it in this video, but like later on when she's like dying on the ground, that pail is like right next to her head, and you can see that there's like water in it. So it's my understanding that what she normally does is that she heats water on the stove and then pours the hot water into that pail that has water in it, right? And then uses the warmed up water to mop the floor, right? But okay, so she grabs the pot and she takes it like, okay, so the deputy, he backs up, right? Because he's not taking any chances. That's not saying that she is threatening to harm him or anything like that, right? But anything could happen over there with that pot, right? She could trip over that pail that's on the ground and it could come spilling on her. And really, for his safety, the best course of action is to maintain distance from this pot, right? Just maintain distance, right? That's not saying that she is a threat or that she's threatening him or he feels like she was threatening him or that she's a threat personally, right? It's just that he's not taking any chances, which is fine, right?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Yeah. Now you listen to the way their voices sound, right? The partner, the voice, the way his voice sounds, it sounds like, I can't see his face right now, but it sounds like he's like semi kind of like, like joking and smiling, right? He doesn't sound like he's angry or that he's scared or anything, right? He's like, hey, like I'm backing away from you to stay away from that water, right? You know what I'm saying? Perfectly normal response. So let's keep
In
going.
the water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
Rebuke you in the name of
You better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the
See, there's where this dude is like the biggest fuck up in the history of ever, right? Let's go back. All right. Let's go back. So, right here, he's putting his hand on his gun, right? What's this woman doing? What's she doing? She's not making any type of threatening movements. She's not threatening him, right? Saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. That's not a threat, right? Like, when police officers use force, it has to be, it has to go by essentially an objective standard, right? And that objective standard is based on what a reasonable police officer would do, right? What's reasonable for a police officer to do, what most police officers would do in this situation. Most police officers in this situation would not pull out their gun and threaten to kill this woman. That's a fact. Most police officers in this situation would not do that. Very, very, very few police officers would grab their gun and threaten to kill this woman. And why is that? Because she's not really presenting any threat. She's not taking a threatening posture. She's not being belligerent. She's not threatening them. I don't give a fuck what any of you people say. She's not threatening them, right? There's a barrier between them. There's distance between them. There's like a whole bunch of other stuff here that says it's not justified for him to pull his gun out and threaten her. And that's important, right? Because when a police officer uses, like when in order for a police officer to use force, that force has to be justified by, like, it has to be proportional to the threat that they face, right? And in a lot of cases, they use a little bit more force, or they like depending on the threat, right? Depending on the threat, they can use more and more severe force based on a more and more severe threat, and they don't have to exactly match force with the threat, right? So like if you're coming at a police officer with your hands, right, you're trying to punch him out or whatever, right? He doesn't have to go fisticuffs with you. He could pull out a taser and tase you. He could use a baton and beat you with that. He and like another cop can jump you. A whole, stuff like that. What he can't do if you're coming at him with your bare hands in normal circumstances. Assuming that it's somebody like this guy, right, who's like 6'2" and weighs like something like 220 to 240 pounds or something like that, right? I would expect this guy to be able to go, to be able to stand up to a normal person that's throwing fists, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he has to go fisticuffs with them, but I definitely would say it would be out of order for him to draw a gun and pull a gun on a normal person that's coming at him with fists, right? That shit is out, right? In this case, he's pulling a gun on somebody that's not coming at him with anything. This woman right here is not presenting any sort of threat whatsoever. And as a result, his force here, that is unjustified. And from him doing that, that would cause any reasonable person to fear for their life. And what happens when anybody fears for their life, there's a high chance that they could panic. And then what do you get when someone panics? You get a variety of different things, right? They could run, they could hide, they could, they could turn around and attack and stuff like that, right? And he created the situation where everything afterwards is in response to his actions, right? So let's keep going.
Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot!
Okay, so he told her to drop the pot, right? And I'm going to show you in the other video, right? That she didn't even have the pot in her hands when he was saying that shit, right? And he was approaching her, so apparently her cowering, right? Like, look at this. He pulls out the gun,
Okay, I'm sorry.
and she instantly cowers. She says, okay, I'm sorry. And then she instantly cowers, right? So apparently her cowering and not having the pot in her hands didn't do anything to make him drop aggro on her, right? He's aggressing pretty strong at her right now with deadly force. You know, he's aggressing at her with deadly force. And her not having the pot in her hands and, basically, going down with her hands up and basically submitting, right? Isn't making him stop his assault. This is what he's doing. Like, what he's doing right here is an assault. It's an assault, right? It's pretty much like, he's committing a crime here. This is like, this force right here that he's using is unlawful. And it's so blatant that it's actually like criminal. That's why he's on charges right now. This shit right here is not copacetic. So let's keep going. So he shot and killed her and all this, right? They go to pot right there on the chair. Now let's fast forward, right? So here goes the video, the original video from his body cam, right? Without the audio and stuff like that, right? Without the audio matching and stuff, right? Because, like, I don't want people to accuse me of, like, doctoring it or whatever, right? But look at this here. What is she doing? She's standing there, right? She's not making any threatening movements. She's not trying to hoist up the pot to throw at him. Look at her. Look at her facial expression, right? She's not being belligerent to him. She's not like being hateful to him or anything like that. She said, "I rebuke you," but if you go back and listen to how she said that, it sounded like she was just making like a joke. Like, look, this woman right here, she's religious. Right, when I was growing up, my mother was very religious, and she used to say stuff like that all the time, like "I rebuke you" and all this other stuff. Right, she used to say stuff like that all the time, and it was never meant never meant as a threat. And she lived to be over 70 years old, and it has never harmed anybody that I'm aware of. So. That's the thing. My grandmother was also religious as well. And, people used to think that she was crazy as well. She wasn't, right? But anyway, enough about religion, right? This woman is not presenting any sort of threat whatsoever. No threat whatsoever. And then there's a barrier there. They're a good distance from one another, right? Her like the threat level that she presents here is nil, right? If he felt some kind of way about the pot, he could have talked to her. That's really like the level at which that he would have to be at, right? Like, because the police go by this thing is the use of force continuum, right? I'm not an expert on it or anything like that, right? But think of it as like sort of like a flow chart for what level of force a police officer can generally use or should generally use versus a particular threat level, right? And so at this point, you have a woman who's not being threatening, who has been compliant this entire time, right? And is really like at a safe distance away from the deputy. Uh, at this point, they are at like at this point, if he were to follow the use of force continuum, he would use words. He would communicate with her to get her to leave the stop dealing with the pot over there, right? He would communicate with her, like he would say, like, hey, like, look, just stop messing with that pot. We don't need to deal with that right now. Could you, ma'am, could you come back over to the living room so we could finish talking and stuff like that, right? That's what he could do. That's what he could do. He could just simply talk to her, right? He hasn't even attempted that here, right? He hasn't even attempted that, honestly, because they don't really have any business being in this house, right? They're not here serving a search warrant. They're not here serving an arrest warrant. There's no emergency that brought them into this house, right? There's like no pretty much anything else that they have a duty to deal with in this house, right? They could and probably should have just left. They shouldn't have went into her house to begin with. I mean, that's like the biggest fuck up here. I mean, not the biggest, because the asshole shot and killed someone, right? But it was the beginning of the fuck ups, It's the beginning of the fuck ups, really, for these deputies, right? And specifically the one who shot and killed this woman, right? Because I'm convinced that if the partner were with another police officer, pretty much almost anybody else in the sheriff's department, this whole interaction would have ended without anybody being shot or killed, and without anybody being splashed with water or anything like that. I can believe it. Especially when you see the look on all the faces of all the other deputies when they show up to this call, right? You just see all their faces. They can't even look the shooter in his eye, right? So let's keep going. So, what did she do? She instantly cowered and went down. Where's the pot? It's right there. Where's the pot? It's right there, right? All right. And then people were saying, oh, well, she threw the pot at him, so that makes it a justified shoot. No, it doesn't. Like, the guy assaulted her, right? Like, when he pulled his gun out and threatened to kill her, that was unjustified, and so that makes it an assault, right? He assaulted her earlier and put her in fear, put her predictably and reasonably in fear of her life. Anybody would be in fear of their life there, right? And she's showing all the signs of being in fear of her life. Look, she's just standing there, right? He pulls the gun out, she cowers and goes down. That is fear for her life right there, right? He did all that, and he did not relent. He did not relent from his assault. He just continued going. So if she threw a pot, it's because she panicked and either was trying to get rid of the pot, right? Because the dude's telling her to drop the pot. The dude's telling her, right? Like when all that's going on, he's basically telling her to drop the pot. So she's either trying to defend herself or she's trying to get rid of the pot. She's not thinking about, I'm trying to hurt this guy. And he didn't get hurt. And if he had stayed, over here, then there's no way that pot would be any threat to him. He has the ability to move. He has the ability to retreat. He could move side to side. There's distance between them. There's a barrier between them. All of that. And this woman, she's tiny. She's only like 5'2" and like 110 pounds. She probably wouldn't be able to really throw it well anyway. But okay. So let's move on, right? Let's move on, right? So okay, so this video is one where I matched I tried to sync the audio from the partners, from the partners video with the audio from the shooters video. With the visual from the shooters video, right? And let's just go.
You better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the fucking pot.
See, he just told her to drop the pot. Where's the pot at? Where's the pot at? It's right there, right? He was coming and people saying, "Oh, she went up and got the pot, right, and then threw it at him, right?" Like he was saying, drop the pot before she got up to give him, to get the pot. This dude is a fuck up.
Shots fired.
Yeah, and then he fucking killed her. Yeah, there go the pot right there.
Bring EMS now. We got a headshot wound to the female. Headshot wound to the female. 1078. Fuck. I was on. I'm gonna go get my kit. No, it'd be a headshot, dude. She's done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot. God damn it. God, fuck.
So the thing about it is people are trying to defend this guy. People are trying to defend this guy, right? But right here, when he did that shit, he was doomed. He was done for. Like, even if he hadn't shot and killed this woman, he would probably still be going to prison for assault. That shit right there is not good. And that's why, that's why in this particular case, what happened is that the sheriff's department, they asked the Illinois State Police to do an independent investigation, right? And then 11 days later, this guy was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of assault, with assault with a deadly weapon, and with official misconduct, right? I mean, because of course, the shit that he did throughout this video, a lot of that shit was wrong, and then he lied, about what happened. He lied when he contacted, I guess, either somebody back at headquarters or what have you, and told them that this woman's, wounds were self-inflicted when they weren't, and all this other stuff. This guy did everything under the sun to try to minimize, what he did, right? Because he knew he fucked up after he killed her, right? Not after he killed her. After he shot her, he knew he fucked up like bad. He knows that this shit is not right. He knows that this isn't right. What he's hoping is that he could get in there and, of course he's already pled innocent or he's already pled not guilty, right? And he's planning on getting into court and claiming that he was in fear for his life and that he was defending himself and all this other stuff, right? But in order for him to claim that he's fearing for his life, that fear has to be reasonable. And this shit right here, what he's doing right here, is not reasonable. It's just not. And anybody that thinks that this is reasonable is a fucking dumbass. It's not reasonable in any way, shape, or form. It's objectively not reasonable. And that's why it only took 11 days to indict and arrest this motherfucker, right? You see, a lot of other cops that are involved in shootings, even in Illinois, right? They shoot and kill someone, and they get put on administrative leave, right? And they'll be on administrative leave for a long ass time. And if they get charged with a crime, right, a lot of times it'll take a long ass time for that to come through, right? This shit came through at hyper speed, right? It came through incredibly fast, right? And that's because what this guy did was such a monumental fuck up, right? That they can't even ignore that shit, And to be perfectly honest, this guy has been a menace. He's been a menace. He's been a menace in the departments and stuff that he was in, right? And he was warned in the past that if he stays on the path that he was on at the time, right? If he stays on that path, that he's eventually going to wind up doing jail time. He was warned, right? Stop acting like this guy did nothing wrong and that he's just like your average Mr. Policeman that's just doing his job, right? No, this guy right here is defective. This guy is majorly defective, right? He has problems. So that's just about it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a nice day.